just something amazing about New Orleans music. It just brings a smile to people's face. And I see it all over the world, man. We start playing the drums, you know, boom, 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 boom. People just, they start smiling. You know, I start playing the trumpet. People all around the world. Just, what is it about our music that make people do that? There's something about that inherent joy and that beat, that walk.
I don't think I've ever seen people persevere the way I have down here. And so to see people rebuild and resurrect and reconjure and just reassess the situation constantly to the extent that they can even think about writing music about it, I think it's pretty impressive.
There's a journey that we're on with his ideas. We did this process of imagineering, kind of like what is it that you'd like to see in the world at the end of the day. And he was straight on. He was like, it's about global domination, you know, it's about enhancing every day of life with jazz. I was like, wow, there it is.
One of the things that I love about Irvin is his ability to create incredible music and dynamic music. Very deep pieces of reflection in terms of where he's from.
I put so much of not just me into my music, but I put so much of my history and my ancestors and my friends and my community into my music.
He has the ability to create music that that kind of seeps into your soul a little bit in the way that New Orleans music does. It's modern, but it's traditional at the same time. And then it's kind of street jazz because you're bopping to it and you can follow the rhythm.
The second line is the savior of live music. It's the raw, essential joy of a band being outside and a group of people dancing and doing their thing. And so, you know, when I thought about from the lake to the river, I said the only way if we're gonna go from the lake to the river, which is what Elysian Fields is, the only way we're gonna do it is by second line. That's how we do it in New Orleans. We're gonna second line from the lake to the river. 1, 2, The second line is to New Orleans what the samba is to Brazil, what rumba is to Cuba, what Nyabingi is to Jamaica, what steel pan is to Trinidad. It's that joyous experience that's so important that I think will keep our soul, the essence, the soul of what this city and this music is about alive. So From the Lake to the River is one of the most important pieces that I wrote. And it's important because it's the thing that people will remember our time by. I'm trying to capture the beauty of our time.
That's the thing that Irvin taught me, that jazz is a lifestyle.
Actually, I love that song because I love the funk beat, what Herlin Riley brings to it. You can't beat it. It's awesome.
It really reminds me of New Orleans music and the music that I grew up playing. It's got a nice second line feel. I mean, it's got the whole deal, all the reasons why I play music.
Before I get to the actual music writing piece, I already have this thing inside of me that's trying to get out all the time.
When Irvin is writing, he doesn't rest, he doesn't eat, he's up all night. I try to stay away from him as much as possible. So it's kind of like the Color Purple thing when they just stick the food at the door.
That band is ready. So that band shows up and they sit down and they say, okay, what do you got for me? And Irvin has to deliver.
When I'm composing for these musicians, there's nobody else. The music goes directly from me to them. So the process is pure.
He doesn't compromise in any way at all.
If it ain't honest in jazz, it dies immediately. There's no synthesizer. It's strictly about Don's got to put his hands on that banjo and create. And I've got to give him a framework to create in with the other guys. And they got to all create together.
Irvin has assembled a group of excellent musicians who are able to read the music, interpret the music, and bring a whole lot of life to it.
These guys are dead serious and will be remembered. I mean, Don Vappy is the best banjo player of jazz in the world. Evan Christopher is the best jazz clarinetist in the world. Herlin Riley is the best drummer of his kind in the world. They're part of history.
Some of those guys he played with for a very, very long time.
He writes to showcase each individual's specific talent, which is a very selfless thing to do. I think it's a special gift that not very many people have.
Irvin as a composer, I mean, he exists kind of in general as like an unabated figure, you know, he's pretty unedited.
This is a lot that goes into trying to execute a piece. I mean, this is a lot of responsibility.
Whatever we got going on right now is what we're going to work with.
You know, it can be a little nail-biting and nerve-wracking.
I don't really have the option to figure out the how. I just gotta make it happen, gotta do it.
I think ultimately Irvin is thinking about how does he deliver the artistic promise of Louis Armstrong and of Jelly Roll Morton.
The way you start to succeed is to fail many times, and to be rigorous, and to be diligent and meticulous.
It's always about stepping the game, which is why Irvin is using a banjo, and why Irvin is actually writing a piece for vocals in French.
What I have to do now is I just have to make the melody the piece that I'm writing for the vocalist. The melody is the point, you know, of why it's all put in place. It's the thing that you would recognize, or the thing that you would hum. I like ballads because ballads are when everything slows down and you take a moment to exist in it right now. A person is feeling that. It's one of the most powerful human emotions. And I think that's one of the most powerful things that jazz brings to the table. I'm just gonna give downbeats, you know what I'm saying? I take more time on my ballads than anything else. If I wanted to be remembered by anything in my work, I want to be remembered by my ballads. Sometimes as humans, we don't take advantage of our emotions enough. Never forget one time I went up on the phone and said, man, you know, I'm kind of depressed right now. He said, well, shit, hang up the phone. I'm in such a good mood. I don't want to ruin your depression. I think a good depression should be enjoyed. For a love letter to France, I said, you know what, I want to write a really dramatic love song. But damn near every love song I write is dramatic. This song is a love letter to France. These words start off with, here, I love you. So the idea really is two countries to another. You know, New Orleans is saying to France, you're so far, you know, we were so close and you're so far away. I see the light. Man, we had such a love fest with each other. Now, you know, you're over there and I'm here. I wanted it to be a love letter as if it was two people.
It's very important to me to really sing the French, to study the French and learn the French.
You got one thing you got to give to the French. I mean, they got that love shit down. I mean, they know it, they understand it, they own it.
I think the approach essentially now has moved all the way back to where he's really rooted in. You know, the agony and the ecstasy of everything you find in New Orleans, and you hear that reflected in his music.
The Elysian Fields Suite began with a song called Somebody Forgot to Turn the Faucet Off, which was about the levees. A hurricane is a sustained storm. Basically, it's just at the highest power. Now, I'm not saying it's not serious, it's not important, and I'm not saying you shouldn't evacuate if you can. Why put yourself in any level of danger? But for the average New Orleanian, you know, they had been through this a million times, and my dad had never evacuated for a storm. So my dad stayed, and that was a normal occurrence. And my mother said, okay, well, you know, you sure you don't want to come? And he's like, no, I'm gonna be here. And here's the thing, if it wasn't for the engineering failure, you know, he called my mom that morning and says, come on back, we gotta fix the gutters. That was the last time they talked. And then you hear folks talking about that water rising. He went back to sleep and he probably woke up in a whole bunch of water. Right now we're gonna do the song that this commission was kind of based off. It was an extension of this song, and it was dedicated to my father, who was a victim of Hurricane Katrina, but also to all of the victims of the hurricane. And this song is entitled, May His Soul Rest in Peace. My dad did not take himself too seriously. It just didn't. You know, I took myself way more serious than my dad took himself. He was just a classic New Orleans guy. And you know, I think I got my fondness of New Orleans from him. I wish my youngest son would have gotten to know my dad. They didn't really get to know each other because he was barely 1 year old at the time that the storm happened. When I think about his death and Katrina, it's hard to put the two of them together for me. The storm, the aftermath, the people, the need, and even him being a victim of it doesn't penetrate as much as the loss of parent.
It's been challenging for him, as it would be for anyone that has suffered such a great loss. But I think it also symbolizes some rebirth for him as an artist.
Every time I would go and play a performance, you know, these big performing halls, and I would say, you know, my dad was a victim of drowning in Hurricane Katrina. You just see people they wouldn't know what to say, they would stop, some would cry, some would... So I said, you know what, this is not the image I want to portray of New Orleans. So I created May His Soul Rest in Peace to be about peace. I took a real gospel approach to the song, and the song has more of an optimistic kind of approach to it. He just represents to me a continuum of people that need to be remembered. You never understand death, but you get to a point where you can accept it. And look back on it now, and I can kind of laugh that, you know, all in all, he would have loved that this level of fuss would have been made over him.
The piece that Irvin wrote for his father, I felt might be the catalyst for something larger.
The Egyptians believed that Elysian Fields was a place of spiritual transformation. I thought that was very interesting versus the Greeks, who saw Elysian Fields as a final resting place.
This Carnegie Hall tour starts with this piece.
First reason I got passionate about Elysian Fields, I'm from Gentilly, and I used to drive Elysian Fields all the time. Just like folks anywhere around the world, you can appreciate the streets where you live your life. And I also wanted something that really hit home to people in New Orleans, but connected with people around the world.
As far as what's next, it doesn't stop.
I rolled it into the Road to Carnegie tour because I wanted it to live forever.
Irvin and I and the rest of the team are working on raising about $250,000 to fund the trip to France and then the trip to Carnegie Hall.
Tonight's a few hundred, tomorrow it's 8,000, who knows how many be on Saturday.
We leave to go on tour in about 12 days.
Bringing this on center stage on the world in all kind of different places and hoping that people get it. I am only an example of the city that I come from. I'm just a guy who wound up playing the trumpet, went to, elementary school and saw a guy play the trumpet and I picked one up. Now I'm going to continue to invest in the things that I believe in. And I believe in New Orleans, I believe in young people, I believe in love, I believe in jazz. I know wherever I'm going to be in the city of New Orleans. It doesn't make a difference what kind of hurricane comes here, it doesn't make a difference. You could burn this entire city down, I'll be living in ashes. I was born in New Orleans, I'm going to die in New Orleans.